I don't remember when it was that I started editing, but I remember I used to think that like you had to just just start like get in front of the camera and just start talking for like 10 like whatever. That's how I thought everybody did it. And then I was listening to some YouTubers who like talk to themselves, the skit guys.
Yeah.
They talk to themselves, and they were talking about how they edit it, and they were like, "Yeah, I just record all of one person talking, and then I record all the second person talking. Then I clip them up, and I'm like, I should try that." And I remember doing that, and then once I figured out how to edit, I was like, "Oh, it's easy. It's just time consuming, but it's easy."
Yeah.
So after like doing that, then I started to kind of like just do more and more research and then figure out more and more into editing. So I don't think I'm happy that you like my edits. I don't think my editing is great because it's all like self taught, but it's just to me it's what has helped me become a good content creator and storyteller.
Yeah. Well, let me give a little bit of an intro just before we hop in. I'll probably keep that aspect of the clip because it
Right.
was really well said. But my friends, episode 191 with the great James Dapper. Thank you
good?
for being here, man.
What's good, man?
Well, so when you have friends in the musical community or in the content creator community, everyone kind of keeps an open eye. But how often do you spend time watching the whole thing? And when I started to watch the whole thing, anytime your name came across, just spending more time with it, uh, I think the big things about your storytelling is you speak well, but also it's so authentic. I mean, not many people would make a video just talking about, hey, this month I got to put $400 in the bank, or I got to do this, and like that kind of rawness, and also watching someone that's willing to take on their own problems head first and proudly say, pass or fail, we're doing this, and you can watch. That kind of invitation is what the internet's really looking for, man. And it was really it's all been really well done, and it's so honest. And maybe less than I'm impressed with your editing skills, I'm impressed at the way you're willing to capture that and watch those moments and siphon it down to what really mattered right here. Like a great quote. I don't like when people cry on camera. That was a great moment, like you had me at that hook, and then I'm the one crying listening to this video, and rest in paradise to your beautiful cat, and to all the loving pets in our lives that we do not get to keep them forever, but they are the greatest companionship, and if you can reciprocate that, good on you, dog.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. That was very well said. I think you're giving me too much credit, but thank you.
No, man, because
Thank you.
you never know what someone came on the internet today not knowing what they were looking for,
Mhm.
and you gave it to them.
Mhm. I kind of feel bad about that video because I didn't think my cat was that sick. If I would have thought he was that sick, I wouldn't have. I don't know. I wouldn't. Like I knew that. Like when I said that, I was like, I have an idea. Like this might do well. I didn't expect it to do as well as it did.
Yeah.
But um, honestly, like I'm still like even like right now, like I'm getting like people like commenting and liking that video, and it's like, man, he's gone. Like it I don't know. It's a weird thing to kind of be like, I'm happy this video did well, but my cat's dead. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like so
It's
it's
super morbid in that, but
yeah.
you have become passive companionship and understanding for these people. And like you said, like,
True.
man, if I hindsight's 2020, if I wouldn't know what was really going on, I probably would have spent more time with my cat less time editing that fucking video.
That video didn't take long.
Okay, cool,
I
cool,
just
cool.
say I like let me think. Am I talking too loud? Like I'm
No, you
speaking?
got
Okay,
the perfect volume.
got you.
And I keep pushing you up a little bit, so like stay
Got
close
you.
to that mic if you can get.
Okay, I'll get a little bit closer. I have a soft voice, speaking voice. It's all that R&B music.
But dude, I was about to say like your storytelling voice versus your music voice, like you can tell it's you, but there is this cool distinction. I want to go back to your early
Uh-huh.
career, but finish the story here.
Okay. Still in my career, by the way. I'm still a musician. I just haven't made the transition to content creator. So where was I at when I shot that video? I was at home, but I was going to meet like some of my high school friends. We were going out to grab some Korean barbecue, and I had just got that the diagnose. Well, it wasn't really a diagnosis. Just like your just cat needs to see a specialist. So I was like, this is what's going on in my life. I hope he's gonna be good. I was kind of like looking forward to documenting the process of him getting better. So I just made that video. I mean, maybe like in 5-10 minutes.
Mm.
It was very like it just, and I edited it real quick. I edited it in TikTok and then just put it up.
Really, it's really powerful to hear you say like I was looking forward to him getting better.
For sure, I was.
And that kind of thing comes across in the content. Like I had someone say to me the other day, like most of these like public encounters videos, like they're faked. And yeah, that stuff can still go viral. You can spend your time doing that. But one thing that I believe about the internet is I don't want to have success doing shit I don't like doing.
Tell me about
I don't want to go out here and fucking fake me walking up to a girl, be like, "What's your favorite song?" And suddenly I just know it so well and I can play that for you. Like, suck my ass. That sounds shitty.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was a little too hot. Suck my ass. That sounds shitty. I'm swinging a little bit. I've been on TikTok live too much today. I've been running my mouth. But like you said, like I'm still a musician, but I'm also a content creator. Like it's kind of part of the bag these days. Like they're gonna love you before they love your music.
Yeah. It's one of those things where like music, I don't know. I've had this this like internal struggle or journey. I say journey. I won't say struggle of like what's good. Like, what's good content, what's good music, what's good, like, what does good mean when it comes to creativity? Because when you talk about sports, you look at statistics, you look at numbers. So the better numbers, obviously, the better you are as far as a sports player.
Yeah.
When it comes to music, you can't really use numbers to justify how good you are because numbers can be manipulated. Numbers can be based off of popularity. We all can name songs that are super popular that we think suck.
Yeah.
Everybody can do that. But like when it comes to like what is what is valuable, like what is good, and what makes somebody so much better, like I guess good than another person's. Like if you look at like two artists that might be similar, why is this person so much better than this person? So I just started thinking about that, and then also thinking about it in the terms of context, like what is, because I was listening to a guy talk about like making content, like how to get hot on TikTok and stuff, and just make good content. That was like very generic advice, and I didn't think all the stuff he was doing was good. I didn't think it was all good. It was all working for him, but it wasn't what I would say is good. It wasn't like thoughtful or in depth. It was just there. And there's somebody who I follow on TikTok, and I think she's amazing. I think she's really, really good. She's like got a great look. She's got a great sound. She's got great production. She's got great visuals, and her content never really move. It doesn't really like go super viral or anything like that, or viral at all. It doesn't really get the numbers that I feel like it deserves. So like the idea of like just doing what you want to do, or getting people invested in you, to me is like, all right, then you can sell them the music, or then you can, I won't say sell them the music, but then you can like get them invested in the music because they're already invested in on you.
Totally. And I think there's like sell has an ugly context to it, for better or for worse. It's just the world we live in. No one wants to be sold to. Right. But I will always think about like, what's the value proposition that I bring to the table? If you find me scrolling through on TikTok one day and I'm going live, like, what's the best thing I can tell you right now that makes you want to spend some time together? This is my job. I'm here to do this. I promise you it'll always be my job. You'll find me on a street corner with no string, still trying to strum that thing before you find me working somewhere else. It's like, it's not really an option. And I love it. That's about all I have to offer you.
Right.
And if you choose to participate in the other things, you buy a ticket, you buy some merch, you listen to a song, you send it to a friend. It's like, so now you're taking that value proposition and you're using it in parts of your life. It's like, that's all I can ask, is that one of these things finds its way to be part of your world and you spin it however. I can't tell you how to feel about my song, how to receive it. And it's crazy. It's like you said, buckets are buckets. It's pretty easy to tell in a basketball game that someone just got yammed on.
Right.
And I guess a diss track is the most, the simplest way to know that you did well. You can yam on somebody in a diss track.
You know what? Even I don't really want to speak too much on what happened last year, but even with the Kendrick Lamar and Drake thing, I don't necessarily feel that that was as big of a gap as it was. I think Kendrick won, no doubt, but I think the internet played a huge role in making Kendrick seem like he won in this huge land. And it was like, I wouldn't say it was close, but it was a lot. It was closer than people. It wasn't as bad as I think everybody was making it out to seem. And it kind of was like people were getting tired of Drake. So it was it's like when you are like it's like when people are ready to take down something that's already on the downslope, and then it was taken down. It's like we were already feeling sour towards Drake, and we were already, a lot of people, it was the public sentiment anyway, and then Kendrick just came in and just spoke to everybody, and then there was a lot of, I don't know, man, and even that, it just kind of felt like I loved the music that Kendrick was doing. I loved GNX. I loved what he did, but it just I don't know. I don't really know how to put it. It just that beef kind of felt. I feel in a lot of ways I lost respect for both of them
Mm.
in that.
Well, and there's an artistic integrity to everything you put out that when we start making the music game about winners and losers, we kind of lost it
Yeah.
because I don't care how many of what do you call it when you put 10 people in a room and you make them focus group.
Yeah.
You can focus group songs to thousands of people. You don't know the one person that needed that. You know, in the same way that your content does that thing where it's like, well, someone today was going through that. And it may have been 5 years ago, it may have been yesterday. But they found it the day that they needed it. And you have that kind of passive impact on people's lives. And it's really more profound than we give it credit for. Your companionship in the present, even if this may have been a past tense experience. Like, why does nostalgic tracks mean so much to us? It's like, well, this was the first song that me and my dad both ever loved together. And in a day where you might be missing your dad, you might just want to text him some shit.
Right.
Those songs mean so much more. So it really is hard to, especially when you get critical about your own shit. You know, you're getting all this advice. You just need to make this type of song, this type of content. You know, people selling to you how you can be sold. You start to get overcritical about what you make and what you are in relationship to that.
Yeah.
And people just don't give themselves enough credit for finding themselves where they're at. You don't need to be on the level of a Kendrick or Drake with your record style. You can sound like a guy that's working out of his closet, because just because you're in a living room doesn't mean you're not, you know, at the ground floor kicking that thing in.
I agree.
So I want two landmarks from you. I want the first time that you felt like you found your voice as a vocalist, and then your first time you found your voice as a producer.
As a vocalist, I don't know. I've had many like times of finding my voice, so I can't think of like one that pinpoints. I feel like maybe one as a songwriter I can give you. In I think it was 2018. It was right when I moved to Cincy, because I'm from like northern Ohio, like around the Dayton area.
Cool.
When I moved to Cincy, I had written this song called "Care for You." It's something I've never recorded. It's only on piano, and I like what I was trying to like the musician that I wanted to be. I just didn't have all of the tools to be able to put it together, like the thoughtfulness, the good music. I was just kind of lost in like I just couldn't express myself correctly. So this was the first time I felt that I was able to say everything I needed to in a song, like just from beginning to end, and it had that story thing. That's the big thing about me. I'm a big fan of stories. So like when you hit me, it was like, oh, I love your storytelling. I was like, perfect. That's what I always try to do with my music. So it was just this really. It was something that happened to me in my life. It was going on, and I was trying to figure out how to express it. And from beginning to end, just you get that in that song. And
it's not recorded?
No, it's not recorded.
Dude, what a treasure hold you're pulling on us right now. That's
I don't know how to produce it. I don't really know what I want to do with it yet. So
it's quite the tease.
yeah.
Next time you come on here, I'll set up a piano. You play it for
Okay,
us.
I got you.
Cool. Isn't it weird though, where as a songwriter, you always have stuff that's sitting on your Spotify that people find that means a lot, but it's moments where you can be like really vulnerable. You're like, I may not even remember all the words to this, or I might mess up some chords. Like this ain't gonna be perfect. But now you kind of let him into the bubble, and like, this bitch could pop. Like, we could fall from the heavens, but if you're willing to go there with me and be in this story with me,
Right.
we can have something special. So I love and hate that, like, you're reverently, like, keeping it for yourself right now.
It's not that I'm keeping it for myself.
No, dog, you just teased me.
I just don't know. I just don't know how to like. I've thought about recording it, and I was like, and I have a weird thing with music right now anyway about like putting it out and releasing it. But yeah, I would if I had enough money and time, I would just sit down and throw a lot of different ideas at it, because originally I'm a big fan of dance music. I'm a big fan of house music. So originally I kind of wanted to be like singer-songwriter meets house music, and with this I don't think that it works very well. So I've been thinking maybe more like a Sufjan Stevens type of production. I don't know what it needs yet. Somebody has told me like, yo, you should just keep it piano. And I don't know if I want to do that. I don't know what I want to do. So I'm not really sure. It's just kind of sitting. I have a bunch of songs that when I started recording, I wrote and I was like, oh, these are really good. I just don't know how exactly I want them to be produced. And oftentimes, my process in the studio, I go in, I have ideas, but I don't have anything concrete. And then me and my engineer, we just build the songs there. And then I come up with something, not necessarily in the studio, but just over time. Like, we'll send back MP3 tracks or whatever, and then I'll listen to it at home. And then I come, and it's pretty much just like you build the track. All right, go home, write to it, go home, record, or go back, record it, and then just produce and mix and stuff.
And do you find that having that artist engineer dialogue is important for you getting the product that you want?
Absolutely.
What was the first time that you really stepped into a studio environment and felt like you and that person vibed the right way?
Well, I'm trying to think how many studios I've been to. I don't really go to a lot of different ones. I've been, over the course, but I mainly go to Moonlight Studios in
Cool.
Fairfield.
I've heard great things about Moonlight.
I love Eric. I've been there since 2012.
Cool.
So
2012. So
Yeah.
in 2018, you're kind of. Do you feel like you're stepping into your lane as a writer? Not your lane, but more of your voice.
I agree with that. So I'm trying to think. When I first started making music, it was like I was rapping, and I always told myself if I could sing, I wouldn't rap anymore. And that's not true. I still rap, but what I wanted to express, like vocally, like singing wise, I'll say, I didn't know how to express rapping back then. And then I just didn't have, and even when I would sing, I didn't have the voice to pull it off. I didn't have the lyrical ability to figure out how to put all of these words into these, stanzas or whatever. And then in 2018, I was trying to think of your question.
You're
In
fine.
2018, that's when I felt like all the work that I had put in kind of clicked for me, and it all like, I compare it to the Karate Kid. I was on different podcasts and I said that I compare it to the Karate Kid, where you see like a montage of like how you wax on, wax off, and you see him doing all these different things, and you're like, how is that gonna work in a fight? And then it just clicks one day, and that's how it felt when I drove for the first time. I remember like being sitting in those driver's ed classes and thinking like, when am I gonna ever use this information? And I remember when I was driving, I remember it was all coming back to me like, oh, I guess it wasn't useless. And that's exactly how it was when I put together like the songs for the first time. I was like, or the songs that were like what I was very proud of. It felt like everything, all the mistakes that I made, all the bad songs that I wrote. I was writing a bunch of bad music. All the bad stuff that I was writing was like, okay, finally, I know where the good stuff is now.
Well, it's tough to learn to take the L's as a writer, but it's like you don't even know how good those songs really are. You just know how you feel
Nah,
about
they
it. Like,
weren't very good.
but you're like you're the first and the only audience for some of these things. You're like, yeah, that's trash. But people do polish turds out there. I mean, it's happening at the highest level of music. And what I really love in hearing you say, like, saying there's things that you wanted to articulate in a rap that just didn't come through right, and then there's things that you want to articulate as more of like a traditional vocalist that just aren't coming through right. I feel like all music is kind of coming to this intersection where rap is not as much of a genre anymore as it may have been before. It's like, yeah, you can call hip-hop and R&B a certain thing, but it's more just the format and the flow that you deliver with. It's a type of stance, it's a type of storytelling that doesn't require melody. And when people do it at the best level, they're thinking for you. It's a freedom from your own opinion of it. But then when someone's singing and these notes hold, it's like now we're letting the arrangement kind of shine, and you're letting people reciprocate that thing. Like, what's a good hook? It's an earworm that the second time it comes back through, it makes you feel like, oh, no, I got on the ride, and we're fucking going downhill, and I can feel this. I can feel the momentum of it.
Mm-hmm.
Did you always know that you kind of wanted to be bridging those gaps, or did it take you a while as a rapper to say, like, this isn't doing it all for me?
Well, I'll say this. I think back then I just wasn't the best writer. Like I wasn't. I did not have the technique, and the know-how to like say what I wanted to say. So, as I've grown, like I don't rap as much, but I would say what I've learned to do with singing, I've also learned to do with rapping. So learning how to become a better songwriter also helped me become a better rapper. Like I'm able to normally if I want like something more raw, then I will rap. Like I did something like I did a very very tiny verse when Dante, my cat, when he passed away. I did a little tiny verse for him, just because I was highly upset with myself and you know thinking like it was cancer. So I was thinking like I should have caught this. I should have been more on this. Like I was feeling very very guilty. I've never put an animal down before, so I was feeling I didn't want to, but it felt like it felt like some. I don't want to say it felt like the right thing to do, but it felt like something that I should do, and I just felt very guilty about it. I still feel guilty about it.
The guilty conscience thing is a really hard part of life to work through. It's like we've all been woken up with something that we wish we didn't do in the third grade or things like that. And then there's real world consequences where you hurt somebody you love or you go through an experience like that. And the remedy for it never feels like it's immediately accessible. But I think one of the aspects of the story that you've shared with all of us, like none of us will ever have empathy for what you did exactly. We'll have sympathy, and folks have gone through that maybe a little bit more empathetic, but no one ever lived what you lived there.
I don't mind. You can say I don't. When people say I feel you or I feel sympathy for you or empathy, I don't let that stuff bother me because I know that you're trying to connect.
Mm-hmm.
You know when somebody says like, I'm sorry for you. What is? I remember a friend of mine came to me and said that they didn't like when somebody says, I'm sorry or something to you, and it's like, I think that's just the way we all connect because what happens if I see you going through something, I'm gonna say I'm sorry. Like I'm sorry to hear that. Like or what? I think that's what it was. I'm sorry to hear that, and it's like, it is such a common thing to say, but it's like, what you don't want to say. Yeah, well, you don't want to brush the person off. So like you kind of want to. Even though it might be cliche, it's like, if you feel the need to say that, then say it.
Totally. But I think we're all aware, like, sometimes it feels more empty than others. But in terms of that feeling that sits with you, it's like the way that you've shared the story, the way that you've been so honest about it. I wish I would have found out earlier. It's like that is the great payback that you can offer the world in that.
What's an example that you feel that something feels empty? Like, what would be?
Well, when you say that you feel sorry for somebody, it feels empty, it's like, I have no idea what's that's like, so I have no visceral experience. I feel bad that your day sucks, but I don't know what it's like to have your unicycle break and then you have no ride. You know what I'm saying? Like, really particular moments. Like, when I think the heaviest thing that people go through is, like, if you lose a parent. My mother always told me as a kid, you never really grow up until you lose both your parents. My mom was telling me this at a point in time where she just lost her mom. She'd been without her dad for a long time. And you think about that, it's like, are you an adult if you're 60 and your parents are getting near that, but they're not gone yet? I don't know. I don't know what that's like. I've lost people. I can feel sorry for that, but I can't feel the same level of intimacy and understanding of what it's like to be without your parents. And I'm hearing this from my parent, who's describing a feeling that's so foreign to me that's like, write me a book on it. I could get to the end of the book and I still don't get it until it hits.
I think I'm hung up on the word empty. So when you're saying empty, do you think that like somebody is because I think like at the end of the day we're all just trying to do the best we can. So when I think of empty, I think maybe someone is saying something to you. I'm trying to think of how to put this because I know what you're talking about, but that is something that I don't typically assume. I feel like empty would be something that it's kind of like when you start asking me questions that you don't really care about. That to me is what I would say empty. Like I never got like I feel like I'm sorry to hear that, versus like
the pain of small talk. You're saying
not necessarily small talk, but like let's say if we all know the people that it's like let's do something later. It's like, oh yeah, let's do something later, and they're always busy or something like that.
Yeah,
to me, that is empty. Like that is empty. Or like I think that if somebody said I feel sorry for you, I actually had somebody reach out to me who I had been. That one felt empty, specifically because we had a relationship, and they had said something like, oh, "I'm sorry to hear that," and prior we had been trying to like make some like to speak to one another, and they had been brushing me off. So for them to contact me during a point in time where I'm dealing with something, and then you'd be like, "Oh, it felt like it was more for you than it was for me."
Yeah.
That one felt it. That one I would say felt empty, but that one it was a contextual thing. If you just come to me and say, "Hey man, I'm sorry for your loss," I'm not gonna assume any ill will or like it being empty because I don't know you. It might have been empty, it might not have been, but thank you, I appreciate it. If I felt like, you and I had a long relationship and um we maybe had started to grow apart and I was trying to get you to do things and then whatever and then maybe you felt like you needed to come talk to me. It'd be like, we need to talk about other things before we talk about this. Like, this is not gonna be the first thing we talk about.
Yeah, we get to jump to there.
Exactly.
Well, I would say I think people live on certain reservations of depth. There are surface level people. That's all you get from,
Right.
and that's fine because you kind of know them on that plane. But as folks that pour their worst and best feelings into art and try to present that to the world, I'd imagine that there's a certain level of depth that you prefer to live at most of the time because it feels more worthy than to be artificial the rest of the time. So, with that being said, I'm someone that, like me and you say, it's like, I'd prefer to hug you if we're going to do this. You know, it's like, welcome a friend into your life. So when I'm scrolling through Facebook and I see someone that I barely know went through something, and I hit the like button, and then I go to care, and I drop that, I'm like, well, that feels empty. I feel like reaching out to a stranger and saying some shit, but at the same time, I don't know how that's going to play out on the internet. So when you feel kind of inhibited by your understanding, your relationship to approach that person, it's like, well, that's a glass of fucking nothing.
I disagree. If you don't, we just, today's the first time meeting. If you reached out to me and said, "Hey man, I'm sorry for the loss of your cat. I feel for you." I don't look at that as empty. Even if you just dropped a love or a care thing, I don't look at that as empty. I don't look at that as, is that what you're saying?
In some ways.
Yeah, I don't look at that as empty. I look at that as like, maybe you lost something, and whatever I said, whether it was an animal, a parent, a friend, a family member, whomever, maybe you lost something, and my speaking on it connected with you enough to say something to me. And I wouldn't assume that that's empty. I would just say, okay, that's cool. And maybe I'll respond to it because I was getting a lot of responses. Maybe I'll respond to it. Maybe I'll just give it a like. Maybe I missed it. But I don't look at that as I don't look at it as an empty thing because I think that now people, I guess I just look at it differently because now people are so cold. People don't really say anything to you anymore, and so like, or people don't do like, I feel like there's such a lack of like connection with everybody that when somebody does reach out and say, "Hey man, I'm sorry about this," like, thank you. Like, I'm not gonna be mad at that. Thank you. I'm dealing with something, and you understand that and see that, and it's nice to, you know what it is? It's just nice to be seen sometimes. So it's like, hey, we follow each other. I don't know if we've ever talked outside of this time, but it's like, hey, like, I see you. I'm sorry that you're dealing with that. Blessings. And I'm like, okay, cool.
Well, and on that note, I want to say thank you to the people that listen to the show because it's not the most well-viewed thing on the internet by far. It's like maybe this is 60, 70, a couple hundred people are going to see this. Mm-hmm. But for our first interaction, it's like, this is much more the place that I'd like to meet you, to get to see you in person, get to hang out for a little bit. Because I was moved in a place where I was like, I just want to say something to you about this particular piece because it moved me. It in the way that maybe it made you feel seen, it made me feel understood. It made me feel compelled to want to say something in that. But I definitely agree where it's like, the world can get pretty cold these days.
Yeah.
And there's nothing like one-on-one interaction to either solve that or remind you, like, oh yeah, they're cold, you know, and that's just how that person kind of works. And
you first and foremost, thank you for having me. You didn't. If you would have just sent me like a message, and I would have been fine with that too. But I do appreciate you giving me this opportunity to come and talk with you in this more, I guess, intimate setting. We don't have to talk about my cat the whole time. I don't want to be.
No. Well, so many things, and there's so much more to a person than a particular story.
Yeah.
But wherever it starts, you kind of follow it down the rabbit hole. So I kind of want to go back to your production life and learning how you work as an artist, then learning how you package that to give to people is a really hard part. And as someone that does so well with taking a video and cooking it down to, this is the special part. and you take a song and you cook it down to this is the special part. Have you ever gone into the world of home production, or do you prefer the studio setting?
So I did try some home production. I don't. Let me think. Maybe it's just the way my workflow is. I couldn't find a workflow that made me um feel. I'm trying to think of how to say this. I've done that. I remember the very first time I went to the studio by myself to do my own record. Because in 2012 I was in a band. So in 2014 I went and I did my own solo stuff, and I thought, you know what, man? I started looking like I had that like idea most people have. You know, this mic, how much is that mic? Oh, it's $200, whatever. So I'm like, if I got myself a mic, if I got myself an interface, a laptop, or whatever, I bet you I could do this all myself. I got all that stuff. I wish I would have documented it back then. I got all that stuff, put it together, got like addicted to like buying a bunch of gear. I used to get Sweetwater stuff in the mail all the time. That was just like
It's a deep
oh
pot.
my god. And Sweetwater
You
used
got peppermint, dog.
right. There's peppermint, or they have Laffy Taffy and stuff. They always have candy.
It's the people. If you watch someone open up their Sweetwater package and it's all honey, run. Okay, I don't trust you. They're sending you candy. You get honey anywhere, baby. Okay, that's coming from Fort Wayne, Indiana. Get a fucking Tootsie Pop and let's
Right.
move on.
Right. They back then they used to have it was free shipping and it was no tax for whatever reason. I don't know why it was no tax and free shipping back
Scandalous.
then. Oh my god, I used to order everything as is and get it the next day. So like I just had a bunch of I still have I like my synths, I had pedals, I had everything, and when I would plug it in, when I would try to figure it out, it was a lot of like, all right, how do I figure this synth out? Where is this? Where's the save? Where's this thing? And I just started to realize like I have to take it from the beginning, and it was so much easier for me to buy a new synth and feel good than it was to learn a new synth. So I kept doing that, and then just realized like this isn't fun for me. So I actually almost stopped making music because it was just I couldn't figure out. Do I produce a song? Do I write a song? It was too much. I couldn't figure out the workflow. So I remember like 2016, I think it was. I had met this artist, and I started working with them, and I took them to the studio, and we got something done in 2 hours that I couldn't do in 6 months. I couldn't do it in we'll say 6 months. I couldn't do it though, and I was like, hey, I gotta come back here. Like I have to come back here because this is a lot easier for me to just get my ideas out. I hate having the wall in front of my ideas. And so I did that, and then I was like, yeah, this is how I want to create music. Would I love to figure out everything and produce everything myself? I would. It just takes too much time, and I don't think I have the patience to sit down and learn it right now while I also work, a ton, and yeah, it just doesn't interest me as much right now. So
Yeah.
that's why I go to the studio.
Well, and I'm a big believer that you should try to do everything yourself at least once, because then when you go to pay somebody, you won't be saying, "Oh, they're overcharging me." It's like, no, I know what this is worth.
Absolutely.
And you can pay them a lot happier when you've gone through that experience yourself. You're like, well, I've been eating shit in my own studio trying to get the gain right, let alone the compression, let alone the final vocal chain, all that nonsense. And then you meet someone that's just great at it. It's like, cool. I think the producer role is like one of the most misunderstood things in the music industry. And like, I had a producer for a while that we had a very, very messy breakup. I learned a ton. And I appreciate that role so much more because I went through so much pain at the end. But then you listen to someone like Rick Rubin talk, and like, I'm not here to be like a hog rider of Rick Rubin, like because we all are at some point. But it's like you're looking for people in your life that can see why you're special, why you're one of a kind, and they can help you embrace that without getting in your way and without pushing you, just by being there and to affirm or put down certain things that don't feel right. Like, one of the best voices I need in my life that I did not know that I needed before she walked in is my wife. And she's not my music producer, but she's my partner. And she can say, well, that's not the best use of your time, but boy, you kicking ass at this. And I love if you spend a little bit more time here, but I know you got to go do that. It's like having people that know you and what you bring to the table, know your value proposition.
Shout out to your wife. How long have you guys been together?
We've been together for 6 years, married for like a year and some change.
Sweet. Congratulations.
Yeah, and if she tells me quit mowing the lawn, it's because I'm putting something off that I need to be doing. And also, people don't understand, man. Lawn care isn't. It's not a hobby. It's a fetish. I say that too much, and some people look at me crazy. I'm like, it's a joke. Chill. It's a joke. I'm not doing that. Don't be.
I just think you're serious. I'm assuming you're serious.
No. I wouldn't play you like that, but I don't have a lot of. I don't have a lot of sexual fantasies I got to put on my yard, you know. It's like I'm a happily married man, you know. But, you know, when you find people in your life that see the things that you do well and they can help you weed out the nonsense, like include the people that help you steer free of shit that is just weighing you down.
Absolutely.
What a blessing.
Absolutely. You figure that out as you get older, too.
For damn sure. Your circle gets smaller, but hopefully you get better about selecting those people. And also, like, I think one of the harder things when you have a channel that starts to blow up or a musician and you're in this emotional place is people want to come to you with their life and put it on your back and tell you everything. It's like, well, if you hand all this to me, I will carry a little bit of it, but I certainly can't carry all of it.
Right.
And so knowing what you're able to bring to the table helps you stop people and say, hey, I can't do all that for you, but I can do this. And if you're happy with this, we got something really nice going on here. But when folks want to be your best friend, and you can only be distant friends, or you can only be like a distant homie that slaps you five at the bar, like being transparent about that, not saying that we're going to get together when we're not going to get together. Like, those things are tough. People pleasers are struggling in the world in the same way that introverts are struggling in the world. It's like there's that learning your own boundaries and being transparent with people about it. That's probably the weirdest growing up portion of your life to do.
Yeah. I feel like it's a Larry David thing. You a Curb fan?
I haven't watched much of Curb, but I definitely respect what the art is.
Oh, it's
like,
great.
He's somewhere between a cringe lord and a philosopher that we all need a little bit of.
No, I love it. I feel very connected to Larry David.
And how does that kind of relate to, like, being transparent with people? Like, is he just that flat with people?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, cool,
Yeah.
cool.
He'd be like, I'm not going to do this.
Do you feel like that's a New York thing?
Possibly.
It's just like an NYC go fuck yourself.
Possibly.
You know?
Honestly, probably, yeah.
Yeah.
He's living in L.A., too, so yeah, that's probably, yeah.
You gotta love those kind of transplants. What was it like to move from Dayton to Cincinnati?
I don't really get out very much, so it wasn't that crazy. It's just it's nice to be somewhere that has like, so I like the architecture in Cincinnati, and I like the fact there's always something to do. I feel like before COVID there was a lot of stuff to do, and now there's stuff to do. It's not as abundant, but it's just I could go out to like a nice bar and catch some like really nice musicians, you know, pretty much every night.
Yeah, and if I heard this recently, like the best way to make good entertainment is to be entertained yourself.
Cool.
So when you're going out to fill your cup, what's like the first thing you're gonna listen to?
Are you asking me like what genre?
I just think like if you're gonna aim, like what would you like to go see? What kind of show would you be interested in? Whether it's genre or format, you know, it could be any style of art.
Okay, well if it's not first and foremost, I'd probably say music. I get a lot out of seeing music, and I get a lot out of listening to music. But probably for like just straight entertainment is comedy, like stand up.
Yeah,
that'd be something that I like. That to me, I already know I'm just gonna sit down and have a good time. Matter of fact, I just seen Sebastian Maniscalco last night.
You were in Indy?
Mm-hmm.
I was also there.
You went to the show?
I just went to that show. I took
What?
my parents to see that.
That's crazy.
That show kicked.
Man, it's so funny.
So me and my wife were having this discussion. Do you think he brings that stage? You think that's his?
That's interesting. I don't know.
There's all kinds of things that, like, you know, people walk away from shows with different feelings about what mattered. And, like, you know, I don't want to say too much about that show because it'll eventually be on the internet in some way, shape, or form. But someone's stage design has a lot to do with how their personality works. And for such a physical mannerisms kind of guy, I was telling my family, like, when you think about these cameramen, you know, whoever's sitting behind that, this guy's learning his marks and learning how he wants.
Right.
Does he want to look straight through the camera, or does he want to have a side profile of himself? And, like, I'm sure these things are either subconsciously or consciously focused on. You never know how much someone's really aiming for that.
Mm-hmm.
But the guy working the spotlight was having a hell of a night. You know, it's like that's a lot of room to work.
I kept thinking about the cameras. I was like, man, like just like as soon as he would turn, they'd be right there. I'm like, man, they're like super in sync. I don't remember like as soon as he turned, it would be there, and it's like, oh man, I just wonder how they're communicating with one another.
Yeah, I think they're just learning those marks throughout the night. It's like it may not be that he's looking at the same place every night, but he knows where his camera in that corner is going to be.
Yeah.
So if it's a big turn moment, they know it's like we're going from 2 to 3, or we're going from 1 to 3, whatever we have to do to make that happen.
Yeah, it was a good show. I really liked it. I liked how he came out on the motorcycle. That was fire.
Yeah.
It was good. It was a great show.
Yeah, I talked a little bit of shit about the video intro. It's like I'd rather him just come out guns blazing, you know, instead of having like this.
All the like a lot of the big comedians, they have that,
Sizzle reel kind of
yeah,
vibe. Yeah.
I seen Andrew Schultz in October, and he had the same thing.
I would love to see Andrew Schultz at some point.
He's funny.
Well, and it's interesting to see the guys that are the guys and gals that are crowd work people versus like a show like that where it's like no heckling.
Right.
And then there's that one fucking guy in the Raptors where he's talking about the animals. It's like,
Man,
get shit on. Get shit on.
That was so funny.
Dude, I'm so glad we both saw that show. That's epic. Also, I was talking to my folks about like, you know, you go there expecting to see a finished product, but like, you know, if you listen to the podcast about the comedy world, it's like this guy's actively moving things around,
Right.
and like certain bits hit way harder than other bits, and you're like, I wonder, I can't wait to see the finished product so I can see how this changes. And that's really flipped a lot of my mind about how my set list kind of shapes up.
Mm-hmm.
Who belongs where is not as cut and dry as you might imagine. So we talked a little bit about live performance.
Yes.
How much in your past have you played live versus like what do you kind of see as the future of that for you?
Oh man. It's funny because when I was younger, I was very confident and naive. So like I didn't really mind how I came across on stage, and I was probably like from 20, maybe like 12 to like 2013 or 14. So it wasn't, honestly, no. Probably about 2010 to 2014, I think it was. I was performing a ton.
How old are you?
31.
Okay, so you would have been like 16, 17?
Yeah, about then.
Cool.
Yeah, about then. There was a lot of, shows put on by, like, a lot of Christian venues and stuff back then. So
You're talking about the Underground?
The Underground.
The Underground,
Yep.
what a club. What a great room.
Did you ever perform at Venue 42 in Lebanon?
No.
Yeah, I don't know if it was the same guys as the Underground, but I know they
Was
were.
it Chris Human?
I don't know if it was Chris.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because Chris did a little bit of the Underground. Then he did Top Cats. What Top Cats used to be? That coffee shop. The 86 Club.
I've heard of it. I've never been there.
It was a cool room.
Got you.
Yeah.
Got you. But yeah, I was doing it then. Like I said, I was rapping, and then as I've gotten older, I've gotten a lot more. So the confidence is still there, but I'm a lot more aware now. So I get very nervous when I get in front of people. I haven't done very many live performances at all. I performed with probably the most person I performed with is Knots. Are you familiar with Knots?
Okay. I'm not.
Oh, she's a musician around the city. She's incredible. Me and her, we have a song or two together, and she would have me come out and perform with her, and I just used to, man, I was so grateful that she would have me come out and perform. I know I was doing a terrible job. I was so stiff. I was so nervous. I was so, like, quiet. Yeah, I just would be up there, like, happy to be next to her because, like I said, she's incredible. She's like an inspiration to me. But yeah, I was whatever. So I want to do some open mics. I've been saying that for years, but I want to get something to where I can practice at home. I don't have like a karaoke machine or anything, so I want to get like something like that and feel a little bit more comfortable on mic singing now because back then it was rapping. So I need to get just more comfortable singing live, like not in takes.
Yeah.
And just do some open mics.
Yeah.
You know.
When you want to, I would love for you to do that songwriters night. Like, are you familiar with Safa and Siriamani?
Yeah, I'm familiar with them.
Amazing human beings. But most of the time, like this songwriters night, it's like people that play an instrument and they sing songs, and it's like that's such a limiting format for the term songwriter because there's so many folks that just span the full spectrum of what you can do as a musician with technology these days. But the format that I've really fallen in love with, like these Nashville style rounds, where person on the left does a song, middle does a song, person on the right does a song, now we send it back. Because like if you just played a breakup song, maybe I got something spicy to say about that, or maybe I got a love song, and we kind of have this dialogue. And in the same way that like you go into a studio and you and the producer kind of tame this idea into that Venn diagram of what really makes sense of it. Like we all got enough songs that this set list could be all over the place, but there's gonna be a compromise of a mood that we're gonna hit together in this flow that happens with, man. You know what I loved about that track? I loved the fourth line where you said like there's nothing about this present that you're keeping. You know, it's things about who you are in the music, not just what the music is, that ties together genres that you would not see next to each other. So when you want to, I'm itching to have you on that show.
Okay, sure, yeah.
Yeah.
I need a little bit of time to at least practice, but yeah, sure, I'd do something.
I will be a pain in the ass asking you about it.
That's fine.
Cool. So as you kind of let yourself get in this content creator lane, have you been surprised by the success that you've had on some platforms versus other platforms?
I've had no, I wouldn't say surprised. I would say I'd see a lot more success on TikTok than I do Instagram, which to me isn't a surprise because I feel like Instagram always feels very like a popular thing, like who's popular, and TikTok feels much more creator driven. But I have had some like success on both, like the one with Dante, that one did well on both platforms. I was not expecting it to do well on Instagram, and it did. And like I said, it was the connection piece. But the first video I had do well was back in 2020, maybe like 3, I think it was. What made me like switch to becoming like more of a lifestyle content creator? I remember I was doing like a lot of like music style content at first. And then something had happened. I was like, oh man, I got this going on, I got that going on. I have to stop like creating content or whatever. And I was like, well, why don't I just talk about what's going on in my life? And that started to do well. I'm like, okay, I'll just keep doing that. And then as I started doing that, me and my roommate had this like real crazy thing happen where he ended up trying to screw me out of a lot of money. My landlord gets involved. It was a big thing. And so I started really documenting that process. I started letting people know. I was recording conversations. I was like making sure I was on top of everything, just in case if it ever came down to some situation where I might need it. Yeah. I'll keep it vague. And and I had a video that got like, I think it was like 500,000 views on TikTok, just talking about like when my landlord tried to scam me out of money. He's like, you didn't pay me, and I had proof and stuff. So that did really well, and I was like, oh, okay, well, that's cool.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's just kind of like has been pretty. It was, I don't see 500,000 or even 100,000 frequently, but it's been consistent as far as like people have been interested. And you get the occasional people who come and be like, "What? Are you good with your roommate?" And it's like, yeah, man, that was like 2 years ago or 3 years ago. But people are still they still know about it.
Yeah. So how much has the idea of making content about your life stepped into like your present mind of just living your life? Do you have to think about that often, or like at the end of the day, you think about like, how can I document one thing here that I felt interesting? Like, what's the workflow of that?
I think you just kind of like do it in a moment. I was really looking for like, I Dante passed on was such an unfortunate thing because I was wanting to make I was pushing it off, just like everything. But I was wanting to make content with my cat. I was like, this would be fun. This would be like a cool thing to do. And then I had got recently from the vet, they were telling me he's gonna be healthy for a long time because they had ran his blood work and the cancer wasn't in his blood, it was in his lymphatic system. But through the test we had, he was looking like he was going to be healthy. And then when that happened, and then I was like, this is something that's affecting me right now, so I'm going to talk about it. It wasn't like, let me make it this big thing. It was really a very fast, quick video. Like I said, I probably did it in 5-10 minutes. So it's something that's like, I'll think like, okay, what happened or what's happening in my life? How can I make it fast or like digestible? So like basically like a point system, and then how do I put it out? That's pretty much that.
Well, like I really love the ones where you're talking like, I'm about to lose 50 pounds. You know, I'm about to do this. Like, you put call to actions for yourself out there, and other people react to that in a way where it's like, man, if he's doing it, I can do that. Like, it has that personability to it where you're kicking people's ass into motion. And do you find that as rewarding as you have music?
Nah, not in the same way. No. But I will say there is like a similar thing that I like about it, which is like the storytelling aspect. So music to me has always been some songs are not as story driven as others, but for the most part, when I write music, I like for it to be story driven. Have you heard any of my music, by the way?
Yeah, I listened to some of it the last time that we were talking. I think after we had talked initially on TikTok, I'd gone and listened to a bunch of your tunes, at least like the top 5 on Spotify and whatnot.
Got you. The stuff that I do, I like to, incorporate stories into my music for the most part. Like I said, they're not all super in depth or what have you, but that's just something. I want it to be about something, and about something. And getting that in content is like it's nice. It's a similar idea. It's a similar like creative, free like things. Like, oh, this is nice. Like, this is cool.
Do you ever have moments where you're making that kind of lifestyle thing and you say this will be better reserved for a song?
I think I can do both.
Yeah.
I think I can always because I think that I've seen situations. I can't think of anything right now, but I've seen things that have blown up on what's the girl's name? The Catch Me Outside girl. Like, she blew up as far as like on content, like through Dr. Phil, and then like you start seeing her do music, and it's like, wow, this is very big now. So like oftentimes it's like you might see a story on social media and then somebody turns it into a song later. I can't, like I said, outside of her, I can't think of too many people who have done it, but I have seen it before.
Yeah, I think it's a good way to put it. Where it's like these days they gotta love you before they love the music. It's just a huge part of it.
So annoying. It is so annoying. I hate it. Like I'll tell you the thing that I do like about it is that people can't. Well, I mean, they can, but you have a voice to pretty much like talk or say what's going on. Like, no, that's not what's going on. This is what's going on. This is what this is about. Like, and I feel that like people who are maybe like come from content creators, they do that better than celebrities do, because celebrities, they like kind of just let their PR handle it and then make it a mess.
Totally.
Because everybody is putting their 2 cents in, and everything means something now. Everybody is a conspiracy theorist, so like they're like looking at, what does this mean? What does that mean? It's like sometimes it's like I don't think it's that deep, and I feel like I wish people would just come out and clear it up faster. Maybe some of it's legal, so I don't really know. But yeah, I'll just look at it from a perspective of like, for example, well, actually, no, this is a bad example, because I even think about like what happened with Drake, where like the like allegations got put on him, and admittedly, it does. Some of the things did look really crazy. Well, I think that there should have been more like, yeah, I don't do, like there should have been more of, yeah, I don't do that. But I do find it funny that when he did release a record saying that he didn't do it, and everybody was like, yeah, that means he does do it. And it's like I said, that's what kind of where I felt like it just all went a little too like, all right, like it's fine to joke, but I feel like we are all, I don't know. I don't know. It just,
there's like an odd accountability thing that people now, like your fans now have over you, versus just like stature was enough to kind of cover that up for a long time. Like people could love 2.5 Men and hate Charlie Sheen, and it didn't really matter for a long time. And then Charlie Sheen got on Cameo, and it turns out we liked him better as a supervillain. I mean, what a vibe! But it's odd the way that like sometimes people don't let you change for the worse or for the better.
Yeah.
Some people hold you in that lane where it's like, oh, we liked you more as an underdog. You know, we liked it more when you were small. It's like, well, you got to let people just move on with their life and start to live in whatever way they're going to interpret. Like, life is not linear until you look back at that shit, and then it can look like a straight line if you want to play that game.
Right.
But it's tough to always be living. Like, I think the hardest part of anyone getting a number one, like, dude, I always think of like the VH1 like one hit wonders of the 90s or things like that. It's like Fuck, man, imagine having your breakfast and seeing your music video play on that and being like, but I have other songs that people love. But if it wasn't as popular in their metrics, if it wasn't the same level of bucket that was, you're not going on the highlight reel. So people kind of diminish your career based on what they loved about you.
Yeah.
And they hold you to that thing. Like Jason Mraz is one of my favorite songwriters ever. He might be happier as an avocado farmer. And I'm Yours is not my favorite track of his. But they might call him a one-hit wonder. Because things like Mr. A to Z and like all these other like beautiful tunes that he's written just don't have the same relevance as that. So sometimes people grab a part of you that they see as theirs. And in the moment that you start to pivot, they're like, well, what about fucking this? What about this?
Let me ask you a question. I don't know about Jason Mraz particularly, but does he have does Jason Mraz have like a fan base to where like if he could maybe sell out like Heritage Bank?
Yeah, he definitely still could.
That's all that matters.
Yes.
Like that's all that matters. A lot of the people that we think fell off just don't have the mainstream success, but they still have an audience that they like. Like Coldplay is like the best example of that.
Dude, Coldplay gets a tough hit these
Coldplay
days.
is the best example because that's the thing. Is like I don't think they're a one-hit wonder, but Coldplay is somebody who like they seldom like they'll have success in the mainstream like every now and then. Like what was their last hit? Like the one with the gorillas.
Yeah, there was like that Milo Xloto album that had a couple of bangers on it, and then it was a lot of feature tracks. Like I don't even know the one that you might be talking about off the top of my head, but like
I want to look it up because it was a good song. Like it had a good bass line to it, but it was like maybe like I don't know 2018, 2019. I don't remember.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really matter what their like commercial success is because they just have like they could sell out probably any stadium in the U.S.
And some people know that line where you start to pump the brakes, but like I don't mean to be cruel, but then there's Maroon 5 where it's like it has to be that next level. It has to be the next, and it's like you have undeniable hits from so many of the most recent decades, but they're still reaching for just like that number one mentality in my mind. And it's never gotten less mainstream centric.
I don't. Let me think. I'm very hesitant to criticize musicians like on things because I feel a little hypocritical. What is your thing with what's with Maroon 5? Were you saying they jumped to number ones?
Well, so I think like you can hear in a band's evolution if they're becoming more themselves or if they're aiming for a wider net. You know, are you fishing for something particular or are you fishing for everybody? And you start to lose some personality in that, in my opinion.
I would make the argument Coldplay has done that, but I don't.
I kind of agree. Like Coldplay's kind of fall in that category where it's like you listen to a musical masterpiece like a Viva La Vida and that whole album, and then you listen to the later stuff where it's like, when did you guys get Deadmau 5 on this track? Like this is crazy.
But the thing is, man, and this is something that I like. I'm a huge Calvin Harris fan. Like Calvin Harris's earlier work was really, really incredible, and then he came over to the U.S. and switched his sound up, and he kind of sounded, like a lot of the other DJs that were popular around that time. And he had said something that was like, it was profound to me. It was that he was not happy making the music that I enjoyed. Like the music that he made earlier in his career, he was not happy making that music. That music, from what I understand, was extremely original, and it was very popular. Like he was like, I think he at the time he had like more number ones in the UK than Michael Jackson. He was Calvin Harris in UK was like crazy around the 2000s, like the mid 2000s era, like 2005, 2008, around that time. And he said the music he was making now he was a lot happier making, and even though I didn't like it. It was like, how can we, even though we might view it as a sellout type of situation, how can we know what these musicians are trying to accomplish as they, grow? Maroon 5, I've never looked at Maroon 5 and thought that they were like the most artistry artist, but they have some great songs in their earlier catalog. I think
they still have some earworms now, and it's hard to deny that they're still making great music, but there's like Chance is a wonderful example where it's like, I love Coloring Book. That album meant a lot to me. For some people, that may have been a sellout moment. But then this next album is so shat on in the public eye.
Yeah.
but it seems like he's going for more of what he wanted.
Exactly.
So fuck him. You
and
know?
I didn't think that album. Like I didn't like that album, but I didn't think it was as bad as everybody made it out to be.
Agreed.
Everybody killed it. I'm like, God, it wasn't that bad.
People got merciless on that
Oh,
shit.
they sure did.
Yeah.
They sure did.
I hate to start to wrap this up prematurely, but I have to drop a car off for some serious mechanic work. But before we do that,
What time you gotta do that?
next 10 minutes, I gotta get moving or so. Before we move out of here, in this next stage of what you're doing, there's many lanes that I see that you are pursuing, that you could pursue. What would you say is the next big focus for you?
I just have to figure. Right now, I'm more worried about waking up and making content every day. That's the thing that I want to make sure that I am able to get to, because it's not easy for me to wake up and make a story out of something, because it's I don't. My life is very regular. I wake up, I work, I normally go to the gym, and then I go home, maybe watch some stuff. I don't really have an extravagant, crazy life, so it can be difficult to make a storyline out of everything. And not everything is for everybody. Like I said, I sometimes wonder how much I should have talked about Dante. I wonder if that should have been just for me, because after a while I did feel like I was getting anytime you have a post do well, it's oh, this is nice that it's doing well. My cat is dead. So it's a very, sometimes I don't want to be in a situation to where I'm looking for tragic things to benefit off of rather than work my way out of them. When I made the 50 pound, I'm gonna lose 50 pounds. I originally wanted to do that as a in a step-by-step thing. Okay, let me show you how to do this. This is what I do every single day. But what I was realizing was me putting that camera up was not nearly as important as me waking up at 3 a.m., going and walk, and then doing that consistently. I felt that if I would have kept putting the camera up, it would have done something to me psychologically that would have kept me from doing the hard work. Because that's not something you could just easily you have to push yourself. That's why it's not easy to lose a lot of weight. So it was something that I had to just get up and do and not make a thing. I didn't want to make it look pretty. I didn't want to make it whatever. It's now I can talk about it, but I didn't necessarily wake up every day be we're in the gym, today we're in the gym, this 50th day of whatever. It's I don't want to do that. I just want to wake up and go, and then whatever, and then I can talk about it later. I can maybe get some videos of me being in the gym, a little bit, but I wasn't working on 10-minute videos of me doing that at the time. It just felt like it was going to get in the way of getting my goal accomplished.
Yeah. Well, the boundaries are important, man.
Yeah.
But I'm sure many other people will say it to you, but in case it needs to be said, the gem is not the content. It's not the certain storyline. The gem is your perspective. You are incredibly kind, thoughtful, and you're putting out things that are meaningful to people at times when it matters. So every time you step up to bat, thank you for doing it, and thank you for coming on today, man.
Thank you. And by the way, I didn't get to do this, and I want to shout out to Nick and Mike Heffron. I love them both. They're both really great guys.
Absolute gems. Some of the nicest dudes you'll ever meet.
Love them.
Nick Heffron coming out with some new music soon as well, so stay tuned, everybody. All right, players. Peace.